Mhm.
Living every day in your head for free. You can tap away, but I will not hear you scream. You can break the keys, spread your toxicity, your world outside reality. In your room, a little hideaway, but you let it through. Enough to go insane, living in the dark.
What is up, Internet? I'm Aries Van Dam, Eugenics Genius, your salt and pepper savant. I'm back again today. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that too abrupt. Just turn it down a bit. And my co-host, you can see it. Ozzy the Attack Terrier. There he is. Look at him. Look at him. The best co-host in the game. This little shit never interrupts me like a good co-host should. Get back to it. So, subscribe so he doesn't have to eat dog food, okay? Please. He's a very expensive dog and he likes steak a lot. So, today's video we're going to look at is Andrew Wilson versus Marc Lamont. And I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit about it before. Oh, shit. I started watching this one and I got about 5 minutes in and I was like, oh, shit, did Andrew lose his first debate? And it was jarring to me. I've never seen him lose a debate or even be like rattled. This one, I noticed a few things and I was like, let me shut this off and react live. So unless he turns it around and like everything that comes after like the last 5 to 10 minutes, he may have lost his first debate. And it's to Marc Lamont Hill. So, yeah, I didn't have the stomach to get through the whole thing. I had to do this live because I knew it was up my alley. But let me be fair here. I just want to point out that Andrew is a great guy. And I messaged him and talked to him a few times and he's always been really cool. He's a very classy guy. But I think he may just have a little bit of the same like issue that a lot of people had with Trump derangement syndrome. I think he might have a little bit of the TAS, Trump adoration syndrome. Oh my God. So, but like I said, he's a great guy. So it just really bothers me to have to do this because I've never had to do it with somebody I actually like a lot. You know, I really have like viewed his content over the years and it really spoke to me. So it was really tough to see me have this mental spot right here where it's just like not making sense to me, to my perspective. Right? Other people can watch this and say he still won, he's still undefeated, all that, whatever. Just from the beginning of the debate, it started looking like, oh my God, this is going to be bad. So I figured we'd do it together. So let me turn this off. And let's get into it. Let's just go straight to it.
Well, joining me now to debate all this is the host of The Crucible, Andrew Wilson, Jack Posobiec, the senior editor at Human Events, who was at the White House this week, Joanna Carducci, better known as JoJo from Jersey, and Marc Lamont Hill, host of Bet News. Okay, let's start with you, Jack. You've been at the White House. It's a pretty shocking interview, actually, with Marjorie Taylor Greene in many ways, not least the...
Yeah, to be clear, we're not going to be here for very long today. I cut out the interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Y'all can go back and watch that. I don't really do interview stuff here that much. I might do another interview video where I do a couple of hers, but this is just the debate portion. That starts at about the 23-minute mark. So if anybody's wondering, and the links are all in the descriptions as always, because I do interrupt quite a bit.
Revelation she was coming out with about her last exchange with President Trump on text about her son and so on. What's your reaction to that? I mean, there is a sense I'm getting that Donald Trump is lashing out at so many people that have either previously supported him or continue to support him, whether it's Riley Gaines or Georgia Maloney or Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly or Marjorie Taylor Greene, whatever,
Alex
that the
Jones.
number of people he's lashing out at who were pro-Trump is suggesting that he's behaving erratically in a way that should be causing concern. What is your view?
Well, Piers, I mean, first of all, Marjorie Taylor Greene is someone that I consider a friend and certainly hope that everything is okay with her family, and anything regarding that should always be opposed the same way I've always said that I oppose any type of threats or violence. We had a situation, Turning Point USA, where Erica Kirk last night wasn't able to attend an event because of threats that she is receiving and other information that was coming to light from the security team. So that's something that obviously we always take very seriously. But when it comes to the
Secret Service looked into it, said there was no threat, just low attendance, and she didn't want to go. But back to the debate.
President, President Trump has had public feuds with people for his entire career, even prior to his political career, whether it's tweets, whether it's in debate stages or in interviews. And so I think this is something that the voters quite largely have priced in to his personality. This really isn't anything new. It certainly doesn't seem new to me. It isn't even the first time he's gotten into a spat with the Pope. He was in a spat with the last Pope. He's in a spat with the current Pope. And I say that as a Catholic.
Do you remember him starting a lot of wars in the Middle East? I don't remember him starting a lot of wars in the Middle East. So this is not baked into my interpretation of what Trump is. This is all new. And they're trying to pretend like this has always been this way. He has not been doing this. He has not been going back on campaign promises like this ever before.
So it's really just something that I feel like is part of sort of the cycle of Donald Trump, the cycle of President Trump, and something that the voters have looked at and said that they have priced in, that they say, you know what, we still want him to deliver for us, and that's why he won the popular vote.
But as a Catholic, how do you feel that over Easter weekend, he's out there trashing Pope Leo? He's out there, it's a few days afterwards, obviously, but he also posting memes of himself as Jesus and so on. I mean, it doesn't sit well with me as a Catholic, I have to say. I just think that, but politically,
I'm agnostic, and I didn't like it. I still have a reverence for religion, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it when Fauci did it on the candles either. I think that's disrespectful. But
particularly, I found it odd. I mean, I saw so many MAGA people being interviewed who loved Trump, but were just really appalled by that. What did you feel?
Yeah, well, I also looked at it in its totality because I saw the Catholic bishops going on 60 Minutes and talking about how upset they were that the illegal aliens are being deported and that they're not filling the pews anymore. And yet they have this moral outrage for ICE and Tom Homan and President Trump because he's actually enforcing the border. And that means that the gravy train of Catholic charities and having these illegals that come in is winding down. And I think that that's what the president was actually responding to.
Well, why didn't he do that when they were doing that a couple of months ago? Why did he wait until they started criticizing the war to do that? That's really weird. If it bothered him, why did he not? Is he known for keeping his mouth shut about things that bother him? Or did it not really, he didn't really give a crap until he started invading a country for no reason and he needed the Pope on his side. That's why he's upset. Not because of anything to do with the shit before. That was months ago.
And the fact that Pope Leo has, of course, been passively, aggressively entering himself into politics. He's been doing this for a while. He's entered the political field. And when I was in the Vatican City back at the conclave last year, I said, this guy is not a conservative. He is from Chicago. When he was a cardinal, he had a Twitter account that was extremely anti-Trump. It was anti-JD Vance. And CNN played my comments, and I said, look, I'm not attacking the guy. I'm just saying, calling it like it is. He is a liberal, and I think that's now coming to fore.
Okay, Marc Lamont Hill, welcome back to Uncensored. What do you think is going on with Donald Trump here?
So many things. First, I think the fact that people who normally don't dip into partisan politics are weighing in, and the fact that people who normally are even leaning to the right. I mean, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's saying, look, I'm still a conservative, as she just told you, but I have some legitimate gripes with the president. That tells you something here. This isn't
the weird thing, just on that note, the weird thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene is when you look at the things that she has said, which have enraged Trump, they're all things that Trump, in the run-up to being re-elected, was espousing himself. Don't engage in foreign wars, particularly in the Middle East, full transparency on the Epstein files, et cetera, et cetera. It's hard to see why her staying on that message has enraged him to the point where he sort of excommunicates her.
And forgive me, there's a little bit of difficulty hearing you through my audio here, but there is a tension and a contradiction here. I mean, Donald Trump ran on a platform, if I understood your question correctly, he ran on a platform that's very different than the one that he is engaging right now in terms of isolationism, in terms of effectively saying, I'm going to make sure the economy is strong. I'm not going to meddle in foreign wars. I'm not going to mind anyone else's business. And I'm going to make sure that the country is back on a stable ground as opposed to what happened with Joe Biden. That was his argument. I think people like Marjorie Taylor Greene bought into that. They believed in that. And now they're seeing him veer from his course. And like any cult leader, when they change course, the expectation is not that you have to reconcile that by leaving the cult. It's that you change your ideology, and that's what's happening right now. But I think the bridge that was too far for many people who identify as believers, people of faith, particularly Christians and Catholics specifically, is not just the contretemps with the Pope, but this Jesus image. I mean, there's just no way that you can look me straight in the face, Donald Trump, and say that you weren't engaging in what a Christian would reasonably determine as blasphemous behavior. And instead of just saying, hey, I went too far, I made a mistake, he doubles down and gaslights us and insults our intelligence by telling us that he thought that he was being a doctor. And in doing that, again, it seems like he's veering off the rails.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson, welcome to you, back to Uncensored. It was great to have you. A lot of our top comments on YouTube during this war with Iran have been, where is Andrew Wilson? So I'm glad we can allay any concerns about your whereabouts. You're here. What do you make of this war? I mean,
where else should I be, right?
Well, exactly. What is your view of this war? We're 6 weeks in. From where I'm looking, most of the things that we were told were likely to happen haven't happened. There's been no regime change. The people haven't risen up for a variety of reasons. And the Iranians have worked out that if you shut the Strait of Hormuz, you can pretty well cripple the global economy when it comes to energy. And by attacking the neighboring Gulf states, you can cripple their business model around tourism and entertainment and sport and so on. So I'm struggling to see any real victory here, although I accept the Americans and Israeli military have been pounding away in Iran and probably very successfully the Iranian military, but there's kind of an asymmetric war going on here where you could argue Iran is winning the other side of this. What's your view?
Well, so we're not very far into this conflict. Trump doesn't have the Bush model. So the Bush model of nation building and Bush doctrine is not the Trump model. He's been very clear that he wants to get in and out of this place as quickly as he possibly can, and they're already moving into talks of peace and this kind of thing and opening up the Straits of Hormuz. So I don't think that this will be a long-term military action. I don't think it was ever designed to be a long-term military action. That Trump's never had any interest in those before. I don't see why he would have an interest in one now.
Afghanistan and Iraq were not sold to us as quick engagements either. I mean, they were sold to us as quick engagements. They didn't turn out to be that. The problem is you get started in these world wars basically in the Middle East, and you get stuck there for decades. That's why everybody's concerned. We don't want to see the same thing happen over and over and over again when we get into a Middle East war that no one wants, that the government just keeps doing for some reason that no one can understand. That's the issue. It never starts out saying, yeah, we're going to be here for decades. No, they start off saying we're just going to get in and get out, and then we end up staying there for decades. That's the problem.
Right, but if it ends with the regime still in place, with the Ayatollah's son as the new supreme leader, albeit he's obviously been badly wounded, but appears to be alive and has already been announced as the new supreme leader, the IRGC remain the controlling kind of military arm of the regime's leadership, and then you have the enriched uranium remaining underground but still in Iranian control. And Iran insists, as part of any peace deal, that they have a form of control over the Strait of Hormuz. How is any of that a win for America, particularly for a president who said, we want regime change, we want total surrender, they're never going to build a nuke and all these things? If there's no guarantee of any of that, how is that a win?
Well, it wouldn't be, but they walked away from the peace talks saying that they're not going to accept those conditions from Iran. So they literally said, we're not going to accept those conditionals. They're not allowed to enrich uranium, and they walked away from them. So I don't think that this is done until the Iranians capitulate. And you also can't trust Iranian state media. They lie constantly. Their state media lies on X constantly. So
what media doesn't lie constantly? Do you think Israel's media is better? Do you think our media is better? You can complain about CNN all day long. I can complain about Fox News all day long. They're propaganda channels. Nowhere is honest about anything anymore. So that's not even really a point to me.
We don't actually know just yet what sort of deal is going to come out of this. Right now, everybody's panicking, but there may be no reason to panic. You might want to just take a step back and see what happens before you rush to a take here.
As a committed Christian,
There's absolutely reason to panic, though.
No, there's no reason to panic, Mark.
I mean, we've
What are you panicking? What are you?
home in flag-draped coffins at this point, but that's okay. Don't worry about the 13 people.
Yeah, those 13 people's families, they're panicking quite a bit because Americans are dying for a war we shouldn't be in, Andrew. That's the issue. We shouldn't be in this war. It's not going to benefit America in any way. It's just going to get Americans killed and then get retaliation from these people that we go and murder over there. Like, that's why we have to worry about terrorism, because we keep getting involved in shit in the Middle East that has nothing to do with us. They don't attack just countries that have nothing to do with them. They're not attacking like Sweden. When was the last time Sweden got attacked? It's not like a common thing. They try to keep out of the countries that leave them alone, and we refuse to leave them alone.
The 13 heroes.
Joe.
While we attack with a country that has nuclear weapons they stole from us. That's a key point here too, I think.
We sent back in
Joe.
coffins.
Was Trump over there killing too many pedophiles for you? Is it upsetting that he killed the Ayatollah Khomeini who married a
You want to
15-year-old?
talk about
We're fighting with the country that brings in pedophiles to let them live there. They import pedophiles. They send pedophiles to our country to do what they do, those people do. And then like Epstein. Well, you don't think he was involved with Mossad? You don't think he was involved? He was hired by the Rothschilds. He admits he was hired by the Rothschilds, right? Oh my God, this is crazy. Like there's literally a trade where those type of people go to Israel to stay to escape prosecution. We had a guy that works with Israel that got caught in a sting operation in Nevada, and they got him out of jail. Next day, he's back in Israel. What happened to those charges? What happened to those charges? They're the ones protecting those kind of people. Right? I get it, Muslims too, and let them blow each other up. Why do we have to go do that? Why is that on us to go do that when we're doing it with people who are doing the same thing? Except they don't marry them. They just pass them on to the next elite. It's his turn now.
Trump and pedophiles?
Yeah,
I don't really think you want to talk about Trump and pedophiles.
I do want to get into
That's the door you want to open.
I do, yes. Let's
You'd open that
get
door.
into. You want to get into Epstein?
Trump's
You guys,
outrage about
hang on. You
Did
guys
you hear
are
Marjorie
constantly
Taylor Greene?
saying.
Look.
You guys are constantly saying that Trump is covering for pedophiles. He's killing them, overwhelmingly
Piers.
killing them.
Piers,
So is he bombing Israel when he's done? Because that's where they're all living.
can I just say that your interview with Marjorie
it's
Taylor
absurd.
Greene
yeah,
was
hang on.
excellent?
Don't all talk at once. Jojo, yeah.
Yeah, no, look, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I agreed with everything Marjorie Taylor Greene for the most part said, and that was a great interview that you had with her. And something Marjorie Taylor Greene said was that Donald Trump ended his relationship with her. He called her a traitor. He called her and screamed at her because she was not going to take her name off of the discharge petition for the Epstein files release. And I don't know why that isn't a big red flag for you. He said to her, you can't do this or it will hurt my friends. Now, if you don't want to have a conversation about Donald Trump and Epstein, then you're really just taking what Marjorie Taylor Greene just said and calling her, I guess you're calling her a liar. Because why would Donald Trump go to such great lengths? Why would he end his relationship, his friendship?
That's relevant from the interview before that we skipped past. She did say that Trump told her that's the reason he needed her to free up to not free up the Epstein list because it would hurt his friends. That's a quote.
With one of his original and most ardent supporters over releasing the Epstein files, if there was nothing in the Epstein files that he needed to worry about. And by the way, we just saw the case with the Wall Street Journal and defamation that Donald Trump had alleged had happened in releasing that card, the birthday card to Jeffrey Epstein, that the court threw that out. So if you want to open that door for a conversation about pedophiles and Donald Trump, I'm happy to go there. I mean, I'm not happy to go there because it's
Well, I'll tell you what,
Andrew,
hang on, Andrew, the question I would ask you is, the Donald Trump, the candidate in 2024, was very clear. I will be totally transparent about the Epstein files. We're going to release everything. Secondly, we're not going to engage in pointless foreign wars, particularly in the Middle East. He couldn't have been clearer about that. We're going to be America first. We're going to control our border, which he's done very successfully, by the way. But he wasn't going to do that. He was going to be transparent on Epstein. He was going to be not committing anything in terms of wars in the Middle East. And he's gone against those two things pretty dramatically. And, Marjorie Taylor Greene still wants transparency on Epstein files, and she still doesn't think America should be engaging in new foreign wars, particularly in the Middle East, which is where Trump was in 2024. And now the third prong of this for you is, as a committed Christian, you can't be happy when he starts reposting memes, of himself as Jesus Christ. And he's done another one today of him with Jesus. And he's attacking the Pope and so on. But if you're a Catholic, you care about that. If you're not, you probably don't. But this stuff with Jesus Christ, you can't be happy with that, are you, Andrew?
Yeah, so there's a lot here to respond to.
Yeah.
So let's start with this. We'll start with the Christian front first. So Trump has made a million jokes, which would be considered offensive. It's amazing to me that a bunch of progressives are panicking about blasphemy when they have all these gay musicals that they put in all of these newspapers, and with like Jesus Christ being played by a bald lesbian, for instance. They don't care about that. They told me on this very show.
I do care about that. I don't like that either. And I criticize that too. But this is blasphemy. And this is also, which like I said, I'm agnostic at this point right now. I'm not actually in a church right now. So I'm agnostic, if that's what you want to classify it as. But it still bothers me to be seeing him try to get people to worship him as a false idol. That's in the Bible, I'm pretty sure. And it's also a sign of the apocalypse. Like that, this dude is acting like the Antichrist. Trucker's right. He is acting like he wants to be that. That's the issue.
Appears that wasn't blasphemous, that was fine. But now suddenly Christians are supposed to be morally outraged on progressives' behalf for some reason. When it comes to Marjorie
That works
Taylor
both
Greene,
ways.
but hang on. Let me respond to some of Pierce's questions.
Yeah.
When it comes to Marjorie Taylor Greene, this progressive here just got done telling me, hey, I actually agree with her. That's amazing. Yes, of course, they'll agree with her.
I'm not willing to go that far, Earl. I still have a lot of respect for the guy. I just feel like he's got a blind spot, and I think he has some TAS, Trump adoration syndrome, going on, which is the opposite of TDS. And as far as them losing the debate, we don't know yet. We're still looking to see. So it's still up in the air. He could pull it out in the second half. I didn't see that yet. That's what attracted me to him. The fact that I thought maybe I could get into a church and still be myself, because I always felt like I'd have to be a different person if I went to church, and I don't want to change that. I want to be me and go to church, but I don't want to have the church change me into something I'm not, and that's why I've always avoided it. And him being able to do those kind of things kind of gave me a little bit of hope that maybe there are churches out there where I don't have to go in and be a fake nice guy, because I hate that. I hate it, and so he helped me.
When she's anti-Trump, these people have TDS. Joe's all over Twitter's always had TDS. She agrees with Marjorie Taylor Greene because it's politically expedient to do so. When it comes to the Epstein files, they lie about this too. There's tons of redactions that are put in, and lawyers who...
And this is a key pivot here, right? This is a pivot, obviously. He wants to attack them personally and not attack the topic that they're talking about. He's not addressing whether it is even a blasphemous thing to be doing. He's targeting them as people. And like I'm saying, I didn't think any of that. I didn't vote for none of those people, and I would have voted for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I like her. I agree with her. And she's right about that. So that's the thing. He's always debating against the leftists. And then this left versus right paradigm is just crazy. It's silly to even be thinking like that anymore. Yes, they're probably shitheads. I agree. I don't like either one of them. I would not watch anything they put out. But when they're right on a show that I'm watching, I have to agree. I'm not going to pretend like they're wrong just because I don't like them personally. That's not what they're talking about. They're not talking about their personal lives. They're talking about Donald Trump. And that's what we're here to discuss. Oh, sorry.
To restrain this on behalf of the victims. That's been going on for years. Under Trump, he's the only one who's ever released anything on the Epstein files. Where was Joe asking for Biden to release a damn thing on the Epstein files? Nowhere. She did one tweet. Do we got one tweet from Joe, who's on Twitter every single day, tweeting her brains out about how Biden needs to release the Epstein files? Nothing. It's always just anti-Trump.
I was saying it as loud as anybody could hear me, but nobody knew me. So, but I was definitely screaming it really loud. So does that argument work against me? No. That's why I'm seeing through this, because you're not going to be able to pull me into the left versus right dynamic here. I wanted it back then, and I want it now, and I want Biden to go to jail for not putting it out, and I want Trump to go to jail for trying not to put it out. I want them all to pay.
Trump,
Chris,
anti-Trump.
I'd like to respond when he's done.
Yeah, okay,
You're not-
Mark.
you didn't-
Okay, can I
You
jump in
didn't-
now?
Yeah, let Mark
I've been
respond,
waiting
and then I'll come to you,
I'd
Joe.
like
like-
to respond.
Let Mark
Okay,
respond, and I'll come to you, Joe.
so-
yeah.
Okay, I've missed about 4 rounds here. So the first thing is the panic around Iran, just to be clear, isn't about the death of pedophiles. That's just a gross misrepresentation. Thousands of Iranians have been killed. Almost 1,800 civilians have been killed. 250, as of the time of this recording, I believe 254 children have been killed. That's what I'm upset about. That's my concern. My concern is the killing of a sovereign leader. My concern is running roughshod in a region and continuing the U.S. foreign policy position of having no legitimate friends and only political interests. With regard to the Christian blasphemy thing that you said, you're misrepresenting the progressive position or the left-wing position. It's not that we want Christians to be outraged on behalf of progressives. I expect Christians to be outraged on behalf of Christianity, and they are. I'm not thin-skinned.
Because it serves your
I'm not up here
interests.
saying we can't have.
That's why.
Allow me. Please allow me to finish, as I allowed you to finish.
All right, go ahead.
I'm not thin-skinned. Thank you for your permission. I'm not thin-skinned. I don't have a problem with irreverent humor. What I'm saying is that if Christians are taking a particular position around morality, around values, around representations of God, then this is simply a blasphemous or immoral position. And instead of deflecting at what progressives get mad or don't get mad at, it's okay to just say, hey, Trump screwed this one up. And finally, when it comes to Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's not Trump derangement that leads me to agree with her. She just talked about the war of the trans agenda on children. I think she's 100% wrong on that. She talked about other things that I think she's 100% wrong on.
Well,
the
that's
difference
what's
is
that's
when she says
blasphemous.
something. Again, that's fine. Also, interrupting me is blasphemous. Let me finish. My point here is that when Marjorie Taylor says
That would
something,
only be blasphemous if you see yourself as Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and you know what? I would never do that because
Good.
I am not Donald Trump.
Then it can't be blasphemous.
I don't have that kind of self-identification. So again, allow me to finish my final point, which was simply, I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene when she's right. If Donald Trump says there's a genocide in Gaza, I say Trump's right. If Trump says, you know what, I have not been responsible in the Epstein files, I'll say he's right. If he says Piers Morgan's not as handsome as Marc Lamont, I'll say he's right. It's not about the person, it's about the principle. And it just so happens that she's right on that point. It's not Trump derangement. She's just finally stepping outside of the cult and saying something true.
Okay, let me. I'll come back to Andrew for a response in a minute. But Jojo, you wanted to respond to what Andrew said about you, and in particular, by the way, why was it that the Biden administration did not reveal any Epstein files?
Because it was an ongoing investigation.
By the way.
That's why.
They had 4 years.
It's simple.
And Trump's in office right now. Go arrest him. Malfeasance in office. Obstruction of justice. How about that? If you knew crimes were being committed and you covered it up, obstruction of justice, malfeasance in office, maybe even a conspiracy charge on there. Like if you're covering it up and you know it happened and you're saying it didn't, I could see how that could be maybe a accessory after the fact for it. Sure.
Answer to that question.
4 years? You don't reveal a single file?
Simple answer to that question. It was an ongoing investigation. That's my understanding.
They
Piers,
couldn't reveal a single file in 4 years?
Joe Biden's administration. Again, Piers, it was an ongoing investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell's
6
case.
years ago, didn't he?
So I don't want to relitigate Joe Biden's administration.
Of course
I want to
not.
respond to
Of
what's
course
happening
not.
right now.
Yeah.
You're not going to let anybody talk? Were you not, did you not get held enough as a child? Now, back to the TDS. It's not TDS to call out the fact that Donald Trump has betrayed his voters. Donald Trump has repeatedly betrayed his base. He has gone back on his promises. He said no new foreign wars. He said he would release the Epstein files, that there would be justice for the survivors. He said that he would lower prices. He said that gas prices would come down. He said he would bring back manufacturing. He said he would bring back jobs. None of those things have happened. It's not Trump derangement syndrome for Marjorie Taylor Greene or me, for that matter, to point out the fact that he is betraying his voters and he is not serving the interests of the American people. He is not putting America first. He's entangled in foreign wars. He's much more interested in getting himself a Nobel Peace Prize or a FIFA Peace Prize or whatever it is that he's seeking. And I think that it's incumbent upon all of us to have these conversations honestly about what is happening right now. We're entangled.
All right, let me ask Jack.
7 weeks into this
If you're
war.
going to be honest,
And I hate to agree with JoJo from Jersey because she's really stupid, but she's right here. She is right here. We're talking about right now. This whataboutism that Andrew keeps doing about how are you feeling about Biden doesn't really make much sense because the guy in there right now is doing it, and he's the one we got to go after. And then once we get him, we can go get Biden too. We can go get all of them. I'm all in for that. Let's get them all.
Then stop obfuscating away from the fact that you haven't answered to why it is that Biden didn't actually release any of this. Hang on, Joe.
We're not talking about Joe Biden. Who's the president right now? No.
You haven't answered
You
the
didn't
question,
answer the
Joe.
question as to why Marjorie
yes.
Taylor Greene.
You can snap
You didn't
your
answer.
fingers and
Andrew,
girl boss,
is your name
but
Andrew?
you need to let me finish, lady.
Okay,
Calm down.
you did not answer the question as to why Marjorie Taylor Greene said he broke their relationship over the Epstein files. Don't tell me to calm down. Dude, smoke your cigarette. Do not tell me to calm down. Why did Marjorie Taylor Greene say he ended their relationship because she wouldn't take...
Lady,
do not tell me to calm down. Dude, you sit there and smoke your cigarette.
Bro,
you're not answering the question about why Marjorie Taylor Greene said he screamed at her.
Chill out, lady.
Dude,
it's
you
my turn
need
to talk,
to
lady.
Calm down. You've talked a lot. You
Just
interrupted
relax.
the other gentleman.
Just relax.
Now, you need to answer the question as to why Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Let me point out here, this is answering a question with a question, which Andrew teaches in his thing to never do, because it's a sign that you were probably losing the debate when you start answering questions with questions. And now he's doing it. That's what led me to believe that's where I shut it off, like right around here, because I was like, uh-oh, that was actually in the course that, like, you don't answer questions with questions.
We're
no,
not
lady, it's
talking
my
about
turn
Joe
to
Biden.
ask the question.
Who
not
is
your
the
turn.
president, dude?
This would be
No, it's
my
not your
turn
show,
to ask the
asshole.
question.
At some point.
The
It's
show
not
is
yours
Piers
either,
Morgan's
bitch.
show.
It's not yours either, bitch. So
It's
what are
not
you talking
your
about?
show. The first question
It's
that was
not
put
yours
before this
either.
panel was
It's
why
not
did
yours either.
Marjorie
You can't
Taylor
girl
Greene
boss your
say
way
that
into
Donald Trump
making
called her
demands,
a
lady.
traitor over the Epstein files? Andrew, why won't you answer that question?
Why
Who's the
didn't
president
Biden
right now?
release anything on the Epstein files? That was the question you
Who is the
obfuscated away
president
from.
right now?
I'm pointing
Who's
out
the
your
president right now?
hypocrisy.
Okay,
Do you know what
Who is
hypocrisy
the president
is? 'Cause that's
right
what
now?
you're
All right, given it
engaging
is
in.
my
Why did you
given
answer that
given it is
I
my
did
show.
answer
Are
the
you
question.
okay?
Given it is
I
my
literally
show.
Who's the president right
given-
now?
Are you
Sorry.
okay, lady?
Lady and gentlemen, if I
president
may
right
intervene,
now?
it is JoJo, as you said, my show, Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Yes,
The
sir.
truth is, Biden was totally wrong not to be transparent in releasing Epstein files, and Donald Trump, for a very long period, probably continuing now, has not been.
It's better in certain things. I'll give you that. It is better in certain things. I like that. I like what he was doing in immigration when it looked like he was actually going to do what he said. And then as soon as he said, we're going to exempt the hotel workers and people who work on farms, we'll just let them stay, I knew he was full of shit. That's why. Like, yeah, the censorship was better, but they're starting to move towards more censorship in a different direction. Now everything's anti-Semitic instead of racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever they used to call me before. now I get called anti-Semitic for saying I don't want to support Israel. That's the craziness. It's just censorship in a different direction. That's the only difference. And it's not as bad because it hadn't gotten into the social media yet. Once they start corrupting YouTube, I probably won't be here.
As transparency promised to be. So a stain on all their houses, frankly. If you're an Epstein victim, you have been served a grotesque miscarriage of governmental justice over this. Jack, you've been very patient, as always. The interesting part of all this is when I talk to someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene for 20-odd minutes, whatever it was, I'm just struggling to see why her positions on these things, which appear to be very consistent with Trump, the candidate in 2024, have now become enough to enrage him to the point he has nothing more to do with her and wants to call her a traitor and everything else. She hasn't really moved from where he was in 2024. It's Donald Trump who's moved, isn't it?
Well, I think if you talk about certain issues, yes. But if you want to talk about tweets and you want to talk about this language and that language, I think it's the same behavior that we've always seen, the same personality that President Trump has always had. He posts memes. We always know that he posts memes. He's posted a meme of himself as a green frog in the past, right? He posts memes all the time.
Yeah, that's the same as being Jesus, being a frog. Pepe the Frog, that's comparable to Jesus, Jack Posobiec, Christian, Jack Posobiec, TPUSA, bigwig. Is that worse? Oh,
Hogan. He's posted memes of him as Rambo and different things, I think, and others. So I mean, I don't really see a change in his personality. It's always been his personality. His personality won the first time. His personality won the popular vote in 2024. That's been his personality. Now, if they have a disagreement, a personal disagreement over tactics, that's where I think that this takedown came from. But I do have a very interesting question, because there's an opportunity right now for us to, on this whole Epstein thing, to...
Trump could grow horns, like 2 big giant horns and a tail. And Jack Posobiec would find a way to make an excuse for it. Oh, it's just a genetic disorder.
To actually sort of everyone show our cards, because there is a situation going on right now in Congress. We've got 2 congressmen who have been credibly accused of mistreating women, one of which is Tony Gonzalez. The other one is Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell has resigned. They both resigned as of this point. There may be further things.
Dude, they had to grab him by the tail and pull him to make him do it. He tried to get, he told people he didn't want you following him if you wanted the Epstein files released. He had a hissy fit, a full-on hissy fit to get those files released. And he still hasn't released them all like they were supposed to. Yeah, I definitely don't think that was like a feather in his cap that he fucking did what Congress had to make a law to make him do. You think that's a feather in his cap somehow? I don't. What is this? Yeah, well, some people lose to pickle jars. Debate-wise, I think he wins a lot, though. A lot. I've never seen him lose one, except maybe this one, depending on how it ends.
Things going on. I released a video on Saturday night of Eric Swalwell in a very compromising position. And there are many people now asking questions of his close friend, Senator Ruben Gallego, who they've traveled together, they've been very close together, very chummy together. So on this point of Epstein, I remember when Gallego last year was running around all year saying Epstein files, Epstein files, Epstein files, Epstein files. But the minute that he's asked, what was your relationship with Eric Swalwell, suddenly he clams up. There's nothing to be released, no pictures, no text, no files. So the question is, and again, I've said this, Republican and Democrat, I don't care, but if he knew something, why won't he release those files? And why don't I hear Democrats or liberals calling for Gallego to release what he knew about Swalwell? And the people aren't even asking him questions about this. It's ridiculous.
Well, the thing about Swalwell, I just think, is that he was first out of the traps whenever any Republican politician was ever caught in any scandal involving inappropriate behavior with women. And the number of videos of him taking the high moral ground about all this, and then to see what's now unraveling about him, is quite extraordinary. But it does beg the question, that was he really doing all this, and nobody in the whole Democratic Party seems to have had any knowledge of any of it? It just seems to be stretching credulity a little too far.
If they were talking about Epstein, isn't it more crazy that our intelligence agencies didn't know? I would know if people were breaking into our jails and stuff, or doing any of the crazy shit that went on with the Epstein files. It's really crazy, huh? I mean, almost like they were working with him, huh? Who else could get him into American jails? I don't know.
I'll fire panel for a moment. I'm just going to very briefly on the issue of the 25th Amendment, which Marjorie Taylor Greene would like to see brought against Donald Trump. We're joined by a guest who has a strong view on the president's health and is a psychologist, Dr. John Gartner, the founder of Duty to Warn. Well, welcome to
he joins the panel or
Uncensored,
something.
Dr.
Somebody told
Gartner.
me about this. But
Your
he do come
view
back,
is
so
what
bear with
about
him.
Donald Trump's cognitive current abilities?
Right. The man is not compos mentis. Those who know him well say he wasn't the same man he was 4 years ago. But I believe that he is showing signs of dementia. A lot of doctors are saying that now. Dr. Vin Gupta has been saying it.
I want to fast forward because this is clearly going to be TDS. Like, you can't evaluate somebody like that just by looking at them on TV. That's not what good psychiatrists do. So I don't think this is going to be very relative. So let me get back to where they start talking the debate. I think it's about right here. Let's see, right here. There we go. That's the end of part of it.
On impulse. He's not acting on strategy.
Okay.
He can't tell us when, where, why, how. He says he knows it in his bones. And so no one can, there's no rhyme or reason to it. But now it relates not just to awkward comments or wandering away from ceremonies, right? But starting what potentially World War III. And this is happening now.
Okay. I'm just, like I say, a little bemused that you didn't see anything wrong with Joe Biden, but perhaps your own cognitive abilities as a psychologist went missing for a few years. But anyway, Dr. Gartner, thank you very much.
Anyone on the site could.
Thank you for having me.
All right, back to the panel. Andrew Wilson. I mean, we might have had a clear example there of Trump derangement syndrome, where there was nothing to see with President Biden whatsoever, even though me, an English guy.
And in the future, this will be classified as TAS, Trump Adoration Syndrome. Trust me.
Sitting in
Well,
London
they hit him.
was able to
they
see
hit
it
him
very
from
clearly.
Us, Piers. They hit him from us. You see, that's the he couldn't. He could. How could he diagnose him? They had him trapped in the basement. He wasn't allowed to come out and say hello. That's of course that's Trump derangement syndrome. He also, the guy also said a whole bunch of things there that were incorrect. We're on the precipice of World War III. No, we're not. That's complete panic mongering, totally made up. Who would the axis of it would be exactly for the new World War III? Just totally made up nonsense. And by the way,
Lebanon, Turkey, America, let's see, Iran, Israel. We're getting quite a few countries here that are getting together, and a lot of those have allies. Like whenever Israel started threatening that they were going to nuclear bomb Iran, Russia had to peek in and say, "No, you're not. If you do, we're going to bomb you." And then it went away. Right? This is very close to a world war. It is very close because you're interfering with China's oil supplies. They did a blockade and tried to stop Chinese vessels. Good luck with that. You're begging people to start a world war when you do shit like that. This has gotten to a very sticky spot, and we need to get out of that region and stop sticking our nose in shit that has nothing to do with us.
Of course, the guy didn't say anything about Joe Biden. He probably said Joe Biden sharp as a tack like most of these guys did. Meanwhile, there was a ghost administration who was running it on behalf of Joe Biden because he was not cognitively there. He also declares that Trump's a grandiose narcissist. Based on what?
Yeah, I'm thinking that would be all we would have. England's not going to come and join us. Like, if you're saying Axis is being like the allies, yeah, I don't see anyone but them. Who else would come? Like, Jesus.
Based on what? You got nothing. The guy has nothing. Total TDS. These
Just
people are
posted
ghouls.
a meme of himself as
Ghouls.
Jesus, Andrew.
Oh, he
think
posted a
that's
joke.
evidence
Oh my God, he posted a joke.
It was a meme.
He said it wasn't a joke, Andrew. Andrew.
I have heard Andrew complain that Christians are the only ones that everybody jokes on, and he thinks it's awful whenever they joke about Christians, but they won't do that to Muhammad or anything like that. This is how Trump adoration syndrome can kind of make you see things differently.
He said it wasn't a joke. He said he thought, which is concerning if it's true, he thought it was him as a doctor. He did not say it was a joke. J.D. Vance said it was a joke, but Donald Trump didn't say it was a joke. He said he posted it himself.
Trump's
so
been
you're
memeing
right. There's
for
no
years.
indications of
Give me a break.
malignant
I was there when he said
narcissism there.
that. He had a little smirk on his face when he said
He
that.
put his name on the
obviously it was
Kennedy
joking.
Center. He's trying to build himself a ballroom. He's trying to build himself an arch with his name on it. You're right. There's no evidence
Well,
whatsoever.
Jojo, let me ask you. Hang on. Jojo, let me ask you. How many times before the big debate, where it became too obvious for anyone to deny it, how many times before then did you call out your concern about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities?
Well, I'm going to answer that question about Joe Biden,
Well,
but I really want to focus on the person who has the nuclear
How many
codes.
times before the debate?
None, and I can tell you why, Piers. I've actually.
Right. So this is about her. This is not about the topic on hand. Like, how many times did you do this? Put me in that chair. I complained about him every day before he even got elected, all the way through till he got out of office. I complained every day. So what does that have to do with this argument? I still think Trump is doing some things we shouldn't be supporting. But because she didn't support him, now that's what the debate's about. It's not about, hey, is Trump crazy? No, it's about, did you think Joe Biden was crazy? Joe Biden's been out for like 2 years now. Who cares?
And I can tell you why.
Well, sorry, is the answer zero?
And I can tell you why, if you allow me to just expand on that.
Sure, you had no concern at all about his cognitive ability.
Can I just answer the question?
Sure.
I appreciate the question. I want an opportunity to answer it, and I also want an opportunity to discuss the fact that the person with the nuclear codes right now needs to be the focus of this conversation. But I'm talking about the
guy who had them.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer that, but he's also not the president at the moment. Good. I had the unbelievable good fortune of having met Joe Biden 4 times. I met him first in 2022 at the White House, where he was much younger and I would say had more energy, but he was so engaged with everybody on that rope line that he took time with each person to have a conversation about where they were from. He talked to
The only problem with that is when you start concerning yourself with the motives of the facts coming out of someone's mouth, you're ignoring the facts, right? That's what the Israel side loves to do this in every debate. Well, you're just saying that because you're anti-Semitic, and they'll try and work it to where they're like, well, you're just saying that because you're anti-Semitic. And that's not really the case. Like a lot of times, factual information needs to be taken as factual information, regardless of why it's being said, because you never know anybody's true motives anyway. So there could be somebody sitting there who pretended to think things that they didn't think, like she probably does. So how do you even know what they really thought? You're just going off what they're saying. That's irrelevant to the debate and the topic that we're talking about right now, right? Isn't it? Like, really?
to my friend Joe about his grandfather who came here from Italy. I got to meet him 3 more times. The last time I met him was in December of 2024 after the election, and I was lucky enough to have been invited to the Roosevelt Room.
See, these leftists could win debates. They could be really good at debates. If when they would come out and say that, they would say, yep, I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. He was brain dead. He had pudding in his head. He was shitting in himself in front of the queen. Like, I was terrible. I made a mistake. That's all you have to say. And then all this debate, it just turns right back on them, and they have to they have to actually defend the topic we're talking about instead of trying to direct it back at shit I did 2 years ago.
And I was lucky enough to have gone to the Oval Office. And when I had conversations with Joe Biden then, he took plenty of time. He took almost 20 minutes with a whole bunch of us to talk. I did notice that he was slower in his step. I did notice that his health did seem diminished, that he seemed much, much older. The office does age you, and Joe Biden is an older man. He's older than Donald.
I just don't see it as relevant to this one. Like, I understand, like, and I like to know that piece of information, but if they just came out and apologized and said, you're right, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. He was brain dead. He was a puppet basically for 4 years. If they said that, what are you gonna, okay, now does Andrew want to answer his question? That's what you say, right? And then there's nowhere they can go. Like, they have the checkmate right there and they're not smart enough to see it. That's what gets me crazy.
Donald Trump by a few years. I would tell you this, and I promise you that this happened. When I was in the Oval Office, I told him, he asked everybody, where are you from? And I told him the name of the town where I live. And he said, without skipping a beat, that he knew the famous confection that is made in my town, because Jill is from New Jersey. Joe Biden said that like that.
And to be fair, I don't think Trump is crazy. I'm not going off of what that stupid doctor was saying. I think he's compromised. Let's say it that way. I think that the country that's known for blackmailing everybody, that's kind of their biggest import is blackmail. And now he's siding with them, all of a sudden going against his own campaign promises. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Like, who do you think, like, that's the only option here is blackmail. Like, what else could it be? I can't think of anything. Pictures of him with his penis in something it shouldn't be in. That's what this is about.
Do I think he was slower in his step? Do I think that he was less healthy, less vigorous when he was leaving office than when he entered it? Absolutely, but every president has. I want to focus on the person right now who is threatening genocide on Orthodox Easter. After the Easter prior to that, threatening to just decimate an entire country of 90 million people. I think that the focus right now, instead of litigating the past, should be on our national security.
That was a weird threat to do whenever you're in war with a person who is actively wanted for war crimes too, right? He has warrants for war crimes that he's just saying, fuck it, come get me. And that's who we're going to war with, and you're threatening another genocide on an entire, I guess, nation or race. I don't know how that was worded. I thought it was nation, but she seems to think it was something else. Civilization, I guess, could be either one. Who knows?
Whether or not the person in charge of all that is
Mark, I will bring you in. Mark, I'll bring you in. The point I would make is, the whole thing I've tried to do on this show is be intellectually honest, right? Which is to call out all this stuff whenever I think it's wrong. I called out Biden repeatedly when he did dumb stuff. I've called out Trump repeatedly, particularly recently, when I think he does dumb stuff. It's people that refuse to call out anything on their side, but then hammer Trump, or the other side, by the way, if they call out nothing on the Trump side, but only hammer the Democrats.
I didn't see anything.
I think there's an intellectual dishonesty to that. Mark?
I think that intellectual honesty is necessary. but it's also important to not use intellectual honesty as a kind of pretext to avoid the issue at hand. When we're talking about Joe Biden, to be clear, Joe Biden showed cognitive decline in my estimation. In my estimation, Joe Biden at some point was not capable of being president,
Right.
and at some point, Joe Biden probably, based on the reports I've heard and people and some reliable sources, was not managing some of the day-to-day operations of the presidency, which to me effectively amounts as a coup if people are running the country who we didn't vote for. So I'm.
And that some time was like 2015. That's when he stopped making sense. He got elected. He was not making any sense. Shuanana Shabbat Pressure was a quote from the man who got elected president. Like, it was pretty obvious that they were being shady with what they were doing too. And we had a puppet president for 4 years. That's an obvious fact. And if these guys would ever be honest and admit that, they would be so much better in debates because there would be nothing they could say because their side, you're admitting it. Once you admit it, there's nothing else they can say about it, really. What are you going to do, just harp on it? Yeah, I was wrong. Now answer your question. That's how you get it back on them.
Fine saying Joe Biden was awful. I'm also okay saying Joe Biden was awful on the Epstein files. We can say all of those things. Everyone doesn't agree with me on this point, but I'm saying, yes, all of that is true. Having stipulated that, Donald Trump is president right.
I don't know that it has to do with minors. I don't know what it is. I'm not privy to that, but I do think there's some kind of blackmail. It could be something with his penis going into something it shouldn't. I don't know. I wasn't there for that, but it's definitely acting like he's being blackmailed, like to just about face. And then the next day being like, y'all still talking about Epstein? Like, we announced it a couple hours ago that it's not real. And then we look into it and there's very, very real. Leslie Wexner is not being charged for anything. All these people haven't been charged for anything. It's really suspicious. I think it's really suspicious. And I'd like to get some adults in there to look through all this and find out who needs to go to jail. Because until we get that, it's just gonna suck like this.
Now, and I'd love to have the conversation about Donald Trump's cognitive ability. I thought the 25th Amendment was appropriate for Joe Biden, and I definitely think it's relevant for Donald Trump. I think the Epstein critique was applicable to Biden, and it's definitely applicable.
That is a fair point, but the thing they could do is just say, I was ideologically captured just like you are right now. That's all they got to say. I was ideologically captured just like you are right now. I had TDS like you have TAS. The exact same thing, and you just put it right back on them. Now what? What are they going to say? There's nothing to say.
To Donald Trump, and I'm not just saying that now. I said it
Okay.
then, even on this show.
Okay, let me give the final word to Jack. We've run out of time. Jack, what is going to happen here? We've got the build up to the midterm elections. We're nearly in May, so it's not far away. All the sort of mood music around this is that because of the way the Iran war's been going, and the effect it's had on inflation and food prices coming and oil prices and so on, that ultimately the punishment will come in November, that the Republicans will lose not just the House, but also the Senate potentially, and that Trump then becomes a lame duck. Can you see that scenario happening?
Well, Piers, I mean, I'm certainly aware that is the conventional narrative here in Washington, D.C. That's the conventional narrative that we see playing across the media. There's no question. And by the way, just to kind of reiterate the point, Piers, I came on this very program and called out the mishandling of the Epstein files, and
yeah, you did.
I was part of it with the AG Bondi, who's no longer in office.
No, you did. You don't remember.
This whole debacle with handing us a bunch of files.
All right, let me interrupt here real quick. Yeah, isn't it funny that Israel knows this? They can tell that Trump is losing it and we're not going to have a Republican president in the next 4 years, and they don't care. They still need this to go through anyway because they know they have Zionists on the Democrat side, so it doesn't really even affect them. They don't care because they know that a Zionist will be in the presidency next year, no matter what. Like, we've never, I can't even think of a time whenever we had a non-Zionist candidate to vote for. I can't remember one. Name one non-Zionist candidate that we've ever had as a choice, even a choice to elect for president. We get two options and they're both Zionists. And we argue about left versus right, as if left versus right is as important as this Zionist issue. Like, this Zionist issue is more important than left versus right. They have infiltrated our government. Like, I could pull up a picture of them sitting in a bingo hall in Israel, all pledging allegiance to that country. That's a fucking issue. That's a bigger issue than, hey, I like, whatever the liberals are into this day. Who knows what they're into? But that is definitely bigger because we are invading countries that are going to get us back. Like, we're going to have terror issues if we don't make some kind of a peace deal with Iran. And we should have to do that. Why would we go stick our nose into that when it had nothing to do with us? They weren't doing any nuclear shit. Everybody knows this has nothing to do with nuclear shit. Like, that was just the last excuse they had in their fucking bag. They tried to say because they shoot protesters while we're shooting protesters. That's how ignorant these fucking excuses are. And I called it then. As soon as they said they're going to go because they're shooting protesters, and I'm looking on the news at us shooting protesters, it's in a video. You can go look. I said, we're going to war for WMDs, just like before, because they're running out of ideas. They're running out of excuses. They tried to say because they say death to America. Don't we have freedom of speech here? We do have freedom of speech here. Americans say death to America and they don't do anything about it. So we're going to go invade a country because they say it? Some poor peasant who lives in a cave says it and it hurts our feelings so bad we got to go blow them up? Get the fuck out of here. That's retarded. That is straight up retarded. Why do we not do that to every country that talks shit about us then? Right? Why don't we go invade every country that shoots the protesters or does something that our morality says is wrong? Right? We're allies with Saudi Arabia now, I think. I think we're technically allies. I don't know. But we're at least on friendly terms with Saudi Arabia, and you can marry an 8-year-old there. So why don't we just turn around and bomb somebody we're allies with then? Because it's not about that. That's the excuse they get to do what they want to do. This is a war for elites. This has nothing to do with us. The Rothschilds want us to invade Iran, so we're doing it. Right? Who owns Israel? The Rothschilds.
That had already been released. So yeah, I'm more than happy to point that out and say that was, I think, the first big misstep of the administration, where this break between the Muzdi admin and then the 2024 coalition that had won that broad support had really came in. And it still comes up, by the way. We had the Turning Point event last night down at University of Georgia and got the vice president there, and every other question was about Epstein, and the other questions were all about Israel, Gaza, Iran, et cetera. A couple questions on H-1B as well. And so what I've said, and I said this in interviews, said it on my show, is that the key here has to be turn the ship towards economic relief for the American people now. Not indirect relief, direct relief, whether it's gas prices, whether it's food prices, whatever the prices are, well, housing prices, of course. Rebates are coming. Today's, tax day in the U.S., obviously. So people need to see that direct relief now. That's the key. Bring it.
And the easiest way to do that is stop blowing up all the oil in Iran. You see what it is causing. So wouldn't that alleviate some of the the monetary issues that we're all suffering right now? I think it would help a lot to not have to pay double for my gas. Who started that? Trump. That's the problem. You'll still defend him, even though he's the cause of this problem.
It back home. And by the way, I've also said that I do think that the whole situation with Iran is really all about China, and it's really all about this May 14th meeting that's coming up in Beijing. I asked the president about that on Monday. Then he confirmed that. Then we see this morning the Strait of Hormuz is now open, and he mentioned the involvement of Xi Jinping. So I think there's a lot going on vis-a-vis our relationship with China and what happens in that deal that could potentially lead to long-term growth for Middle America, but that may not come in time for the midterm election.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you to my panel.
Right, that's the end of the debate. Let me address this now. I don't care if it's about the end. I still don't want to be fighting wars for the Rothschilds. They're the center of every conspiracy theory, and that doesn't happen by accident, right? A couple of those have to be true. A couple. Say a handful of them are true. That's enough. We shouldn't be fighting wars on their behalf under any circumstances. And I got some stuff. I pulled it up because I knew this was going to come up. Let me pull this down so you can see it. I actually have confirmation from Google to show you this little piece. Check this out. So, who is the individual that England gave Israel to? England did not formally give Palestine to an individual, but rather issued the Balfour Declaration. This is the way they reword it, because they did give it to him. The wording is that they gave it to Lord Lionel Walter Rothschild II, Baron Rothschild, if you will. That's who we're fighting this war for, right? Israel is owned and controlled by the Rothschilds, not by Netanyahu. He's just a henchman, just like Trump is a henchman for a different fucking elite, or maybe even the same elite. Who knows? It looks like the same elite now. So that's my issue with it. I don't want to be fighting wars for elites. That's just not in my directive of things I need to do. And that is exactly what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing. If you believe any of the stupid excuses they do, I mean, come on. Who believes that? Who believes that this is about nuclear weapons? Everybody saw that coming. Whenever they were floating all those ideas, everybody should have seen that coming. This is just nonsense. But this is gonna be a short one today. Let me turn some music on. Let's all get laid. It's Friday. Let's get out of here. Go have fun. I'll see y'all on Monday.